Hey guys, welcome to the last and the fourth part of the PivotTable course. You're with me, Chandeep Chabra, and we are now going to crack down a sales dashboard with the help of PivotTables and simple Excel based formulas. So let's get to it. So I'm going to open the sales dashboard that I've made for you. I'm just going to show it to you that how does it look like. This is how the sales dashboard looks like. So what we have here is the heading on the top, the logo on the right. Then we have the year selector here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up any year here, and the entire data can change, and I can pick up any 2 years and I can compare the data, that how's the data been. So if you just take a look at what all analysis can we get out of this dashboard, is that we can get to know that sales quarter by quarter, that how much is our sales quarter by quarter, and we can also get to know the profit percentage quarter by quarter. Then the other thing that we can get to know about from this dashboard is so from the eastern region, how much is the sale, in the northern region how much is the sale, and things like that. So if we are selling 5 lakhs in the first quarter, the total of all the regions is going to tally up to 5 lakhs. So if you see that, that's 5 lakhs, right? So that's the regional total. And then we also get to know that who are our top customers. So we get to know that in quarter 1, VCC was the top customer, and in quarter 4, Shah Associates was the top customer. Similarly, we get to know the top salesman. So in quarter 1, Ramesh was the top salesman, and quarter 2, Swati was the top salesman. Alright, and the similar analysis is there in quarter number 2, sorry, the year 2nd, and you can pick up any year and the analysis is going to change. So I'm just going to show you the demo of that. So I'm just going to pick up 2008 here. So select 2008, and just like that, the entire one side of the dashboard has changed to 2008. I can pick up any other year on the right hand side, and it's going to get compared with the other year, right? So I'm going to pick up any other year right here. So 2007, and just like that, the entire data has changed, right? So we're going to get to it. It's not too difficult. It's not at all difficult, in fact, and we're going to make this sales dashboard. So let's just get started. Okay, I'm now going to switch over to the empty Excel file, which is going to help us make the dashboard, and which is right here. This is the empty Excel file that I'm going to be working in along with you guys to make the sales dashboard. So this is empty. If you just take a look at the structure of this file, the first column is reduced in size, and then I have a column to write down what the title is. I'm just going to take this off. It's linked, so I'm just going to take it off. And then we have 4 columns for quarter by quarter performance. Then we have the column for total, a little column in the middle for dividing one part of the dashboard with the other part, and the same gets repeated. Alright, so I'm going to crunch the numbers quickly, and if you just take a look at the dashboard, the data that we're going to crunch in the first part of the dashboard is going to be same for the second part of the dashboard. All that we have to do is make that slicer to separate the 2 years, right? So let's get started. Here's our data, and I've already converted this to a data table, which is known as sales data, right? And now I'm just going to quickly insert pivot table on that. So Alt NV, and it says that do you want to insert a pivot table? Yes, I want to insert a pivot table, but I want to insert in pivot table here. Alright, let's say insert right here, and I'm going to click OK. So this is the year 1 analysis, right? That goes in the first part of the dashboard. So we'll complete this first, and then we move on to the next part of the analysis, right? Alright, so what I'm going to do is quickly drop the date in the rows, because I want a quarter by quarter analysis of the sales, and I'm going to drop the sales in the value. So I have the sales in the value. So, but I don't want the single dates. I want the dates to be grouped in the quarters and in years. So I'm just going to right click, group it by a quarter, by the years, and click on OK. Now I don't want months. I can just throw out the months of the this, and quarters are going to be here, and the years are here. So I don't really need the years here. Why? Because I am going to make that click. Remember that click here. We're going to make this click to separate the years. Now, so that's the reason why I am not having years here, so we are not having the years here. I'm just taking it off, right? So this is done. Quarter by quarter sum of sales, that's done. I'm just also going to remove the grand totals, which I don't need. So the design tab, grand totals, turn them off, right? I have that. Alright, now I'm going to quickly copy this pivot table. So Control C, Control C to copy, and then move a couple of rows down. I'll paste it here. Alright, the next thing that I want is the profitability, right? Which again, we don't have it. So I'm going to throw the sales out of the pivot table. What I would want to have is the profitability quarter by quarter. So then I'm going to go to the Analyze tab and Field Items and Sets, and I'm going to create a calculated field, and going to name that as profit percentage. We've already done that in the last part of the case, so just going to insert the profit and then divide that by the sales, insert that in, and I will add that to my pivot table, and instantly the profit percentage gets added, which I definitely want to see it here. And I will quickly go to value field settings, and I will number format this as a percentage with 1 decimal place. So that's about it. Now click on OK. I got it. Then the next thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to copy the pivot table once again, take a couple of rows down, and I'm going to paste that right here. Then if you just take a look at the dashboard that we made right here, we need the region wise and quarter wise analysis of how much sales are we making, right? So I'm just going to flip over to my dashboard that I'm making. Over here I need the regions, and quarters are right here, so I don't worry about that. So region down to the rows, and I get that, but I don't need the sum of the profit percentage. I don't need this. Rather than that, I would need the sales here. So I got the sales, right? And moving on, I'm just going to copy all of this once again and create another pivot table. Let's say a couple of rows down. Let's say row number 41. I paste it right here. Now, if you just take a look again at our dashboard, in the dashboard, I would like to know who's the top customer. For knowing the top customer, I would definitely need the total sales made to all the customers. So I'm just going to flip over to my dashboard, the one that I'm making right now, and instead of the regions here in the row, I would need the customers, right? So I'm just going to throw this out, bring the customer in, and I got it, right? The customer is right here. Okay, but I would like to know the top customer, so I'm just going to use a formula. So top customer, let's say sales will be the maximum of the first quarter, right? This is what the sales is going to be, right? Now the other thing that I would want to know that 254,000 is the sale made by which customer. I want to also see the name of the customer. Alright, and I cannot type the name manually, because if I do that, the data can change when I build in the year slicer, and that is going to disrupt the entire formula. So I need an automated formula that automatically picks up the largest value and the respective name of the customer. So for which I'm just going to play a trick. I'm just going to call all the customers to the right, and I'm going to use the VLOOKUP formula. So I'll make a dummy here. So I'm going to call all the customers right here. Right, customers on the right, because VLOOKUP always searches towards the right. Okay, and I'm going to write the VLOOKUP formula. So VLOOKUP, look up this, look up in this table, right? And I need the column number as 5. So 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fifth column, I need the name of the customer, and then it's an exact match, so press enter, and I get to know that Goodfly is the customer that has given me the most amount of sales in quarter 1, right? So when I copy the formula to the right, so let's say I'm copying the formula to the right, I definitely need the next sales amount, but I don't want the range to move from F to G, right? The range has shifted, so 1 cell extra, I don't want that, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lock the F. So the ending of the range where all the customer names are, that is something that I would want to lock. So lock that up, right? And I'm just going to lock only the column so that I can copy the formula down, right? So Just gonna do that. As of now, in this range, it's a four column range. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We don't have any fifth column, so we need fourth column here. So rather than doing a manual change by 4, and then here I would need it as 3, 1, 2, 3, and then I would have to write 3 here, and then so on and so forth. Why don't I write the column numbers on the top? So I'm just going to say dummy for column. So 5, 4, 3, 2. These are my column numbers, and I'm going to link the column numbers with my dummy for column, right? And now the column number is going to be picked up from here. My range is locked, and just like that, I have the top customers available to me, right? So this is the name of the top customer. All right, just going to wrap that up. Okay, and I will increase the size of the cell. All right, now moving on, and I'm just going to flip over to the dashboard and let's see what else is remaining. So here what I would want to have is the top salesman, right? And just like the way that we have got the top customer, can we also get the top salesman? So I'm just going to flip over to my dashboard, going to copy the entire thing once again, right? So this entire stuff once again, we would need the formulas and everything once again. Control C, a couple of rows down, and I would paste it right here. And now what I would need the top salesman, right? So instead of having the customer right here, I'm going to throw this out, and I would need the sales rep. Because our formulas are robust, it is automatically going to pick up Charlie, which is the top sales guy. The max formula is working here, and the VLOOKUP formula is working absolutely fine here. So let's see, Charlie 228,000, right? 228,000. Where's that? Oh, right here, Charlie. All right, so we got that as well. And I think that the analysis for our dashboard for one side of the dashboard is absolutely complete. All we need to do is quickly make this slicer. So let's see, how do we do that? I'm going to flip over to my dashboard once again, and I am going to say that I want to go to the pivot table, analyze tab, insert slicer, and I want to insert the slicer on the years right here, right? I want to have the choice of the years, so I get the slicer right here. Now all these items are hidden, and I just want to take them off from the slicer. So I'm going to right click on the slicer, go to slicer settings to change the way the slicer looks. Now here in the slicer, you have the years is the heading that you see here. I don't want to see that, it's pretty clear, and I'm just going to turn off the years. So display headers is turned off. And the other thing that I want to turn off is all these data item sets that are not visible to me. So I'm just going to say hide items with no data. That's about it. And I only have 2005, 6, 7, and 8. And I'm going to squeeze the slicer down to just 1 year visible, right? And do it a bit neat. And that's about it. And I also don't want to see the boundary on the slicer. It looks neat that way. Okay, so I'm going to go to slicer options, and I'm going to format my slicer. So let's say I pick up this, which has no boundary, right? So you can actually select the slicer, and you can actually click on whichever format slicer styles do you want, and you can actually create a new style. So I've already created one for myself. You can also create the one for yourself. All right, so this is my slicer, and right now my slicer is just linked to one pivot table. So if you just take a look here, if I click on 2006, this data is changing, but let's see if the other data are changing or not. So I'm just going to zoom out a bit, move this slicer up, move this slicer up to this pivot table, and let's see if I click here, is this data changing or not. So I'm just going to zoom in, close this field list, zoom in a bit. Right, let's see if this data is changing or not. This data, our data is not changing. You see that this number is the same, right? It's not changing. This is not changing. The column widths are getting altered because the data is changing right here. So we need to connect the slicer to all the pivot tables, right? All the pivot tables that we have made, right? Before that, I would like to take all of this into other pivot table, which is pivot table for year 2, right? All of this, right? So I'm going to copy all of this, the entire thing that we have done in this sheet. Control A, Control C, copy, and just paste it in pivot 2. Now I have all the pivot tables along with the slicer here. I'm just going to flip over to my dashboard, and when I pick up a year in this slicer, it should not affect the data on the other pivot table. When I pick up any year on this slicer, it should not affect any data on this pivot table. I just want the slicers to be exclusively working to the different sheets. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to go over to the dashboard that I'm making. Right now I am in pivot for year 2. Right click on the slicer and go to report connections. So I'm going to connect this slicer to all the pivot tables on the sheet 2, which is year 2, and no slicer should not be connected to any of the pivot tables on sheet number 1, the year 1, right? So because we want the slicers to be exclusively working for all the pivot tables on this sheet, right? On the sheet. So that's about it, and I'm going to say OK, and now this slicer is connected. If I pick up anything else, and the entire data is changing. Let's just see that. So just going to zoom out a bit, and let's just see if the data is changing or not. So I'm just picking up any other year, right? Let's see if the data is changing. Oh yes, the data is changing. And I'm just going to go over to pivot table 1, which is right here, and my slicer is right here. I'm going to do the same, report connections. I have this, and as of now this is just connected to one pivot table on the sheet. I'm going to make it to all the pivot tables in this sheet, right? That's about it, and click on OK. Now this slicer is exclusive to this worksheet, and this slicer is exclusive to this worksheet. Now we will start consolidating our data into the dashboard in the form of charts and visualizations, which is not more than a 10 minutes job. Let's just see how do we do that. Alright, so I'm going to flip over to the calculation sheet here and start collecting the data here. So the first thing that I'm going to do is make a chart for the sales and the profitability. So year 1, this is my pivot table year 1. What is my sales? So sales quarter by quarter, so Q1, Q2, Q3 and Q4. What is my sales? My sales is equals to pivot table 1. This is my sales, and I'm just going to link it right here. Right now I also want to kind of divide unlock that, because we would now I also want to divide that by 10 raised to the power 5, because that is going to convert everything into lakhs, so which is more presentable on the dashboard. And the next thing that I want to have is profitability, right? Profit percentage. And how do I do that? So I again go to the pivot table and just get the profit from here, right? So get the profits here, get the sales here, and this we can link it to the pivot table, which is nothing but our quarter. So just gonna take that off, although we would not need it in the chart, but still I'm just linking it to the calculations in the pivot table 1. Okay, now I'm just going to select all of these, and I'm just going to go to the I'm just going to go to the home tab. I'm just going to select all of these, and I'm just going to go to the insert tab, and I'm just going to make a simple column chart. Alright, so right click on the chart, no outline, and then I'm just going to quickly take off this and do a bit of formatting here. I want the profitability, which is the percentage, on the secondary axis, so I will do a format data series and put it up on the secondary axis, and instead of having a bar I would want to have a line chart. So series 2 is going to be aligned with a dot, right, on the secondary axis, but I don't want to see the outline, and I also want to kind of increase the size of the marker a bit, right? So where are the markers? Right here, the markers, and I just want to increase the size of these markers a bit, and I just want to do it with the rest of the markers as well. So markers, built-in. I think there are 6, 7. I think that's fine. Alright, and then I don't want to see the axis because I'm just going to activate the data labels and activate the data labels on this, right? So I get that. Just going to take that off. I'm just going to take that off because I already have in my dashboard quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4, so I don't really need the horizontal axis. I'm just going to take off the grid lines, just going to hide the axis here. So Control 1 to open up the format axis box. Moving down, labels, these are called labels on the axis. So labels I will turn off to none, right? So will I do it for this? So Control 1, roll down, labels, position none, right? So I get that, right? Now I'm just going to format the chart just like the way I have done it in the dashboard. So I'm just going to quickly move over to the dashboard and I'm just going to copy the chart. Control C to copy, and then I will click on this chart and I will paste special only the formats, and I activated the paste special box by the shortcut Alt ES, and I will now click on only formats, and just like that this chart is now formatted. And I'm just going to cut it from here, cut it from here, and I will paste it in the sales dashboard right here. And I'm just going to make it neat, short, tidy, to fit in right underneath the data points here. Alright, so my chart is almost ready. Okay, and I definitely want to have the total of all the sales here, so I'm going to say equals to sum of all the numbers right here. So equals to sum of the numbers in the calculation sheet right here. Press enter. This is the total of all the sales, right? Now we're going to have the regions now. So 4 regions starting from row number this. So which are the 4 regions? We are going to take that from the pivot sheet. Move over. This is my region. Unlock that and just drag it down, and this is my region, right? And now I'm just going to get the numbers. So I will say equals to, and I will move over to the pivot. This was my sales for the east. Drag, press OK, and just say equals to 10 raised to the power 5 raised to the power 5 to convert it into lakhs, which is more visible, right? And I'm just going to say control down, control R, and I'm just going to remove the locking part here, so that I have different things. Now all these bars that you see, I created them through conditional formatting. So I went over to the conditional formatting and I chose data bars like this, and I just formatted them a bit, right? So these are nothing but data bars in conditional formatting. Alright, moving on to my sales. My top sales is right here in pivot table 1. For the top customer is this, divided by 10 raised to the power of 5, and I get my top sales. I'm just going to take off the locking here, right, and control R, and I get my top sales. Now who's my top customer? These are my top customers. I just have to remove the 10 raised to the power of 5, right? I just got them from the sheet. Okay, so that is set. And what next? Top sales for the top salesman. So I'm just going to move over to the pivot table, and here is my top sales guy, and then divide this by 10 raised to the power 5, and I get the value for this. Let me just check. That's correct. Okay, then drag it to the right and drag it to the bottom, and you get your top sales guy, right? So you got a top sales guy. Now let's just bring the slicers also here. So I'm just going to cut it, control X to cut, go into the sales dashboard and just paste the slicer right here, place it right here. Okay, so now this part is ready. Let's see if this is moving. Oh yeah, it's moving, right? It's awesome, and it's moving, right? Now let's just do the second part. I'm just going to select, I'm just going to do the calculations for the second part. Just take it off. So this is year 2. So year 2, and I again want the sales and the profit, and I want quarter 1 to 4, sorry, and the values are kept in the pivot table 2. I'm just going to take the values from here. Where are the values? These are the sales values, and I'd like to divide them by 10 raised to the power 5, right? So drag it to the right and convert that into a number format. Convert that. So why don't we copy the formats from here and paste the formats as paste special formats. All right, now we get the profits. So profits are again in sheet number 2, Y2. Here is the profit, and I just drag it here, Control R, and convert it into a profit. And why don't I copy the formats from here, formats, right? So I have this. Now all I'm going to do is go back to my sales dashboard, take the chart, make another chart, right? Make another chart, place it right here. Now the source of the chart has to change, so I'm just going to right click on the chart. By the way, just in case you're wondering how did I copy the chart real quick, so what I do is I select the chart and I start moving the chart, and then I hold the control key, and then the chart gets copied, and I make sure that I leave the click of the mouse first, and then I drop the chart. Okay, so that's how the chart is copied. I'm just going to change the source of the chart, so select data option, series 1, edit. Right now this is this series, I want to select this series. Okay, series 2, edit, and right now this is this profitability for year 1. I want to make sure that I do this, and okay, and okay, I get it. And now I'm just going to copy the formatting and just do a paste special formats, and just like that my chart is ready. Now the only thing which is remaining in this is a couple of things here, and the values here, and the slicer. So let's just get the slicer first. I'm just going to go over to the pivot table and just cut the slicer from here, Control X to cut it, move over to the sales dashboard, paste the slicer here, and just like that. So I'm just going to align that. Alright, and it looks pretty neat. Though we can just reduce the size of both the slices. Alright, so we're going to align them on the top. Right now it looks pretty neat, and we can just drag them up a bit, just a bit of formatting, and it looks neat. Alright, now we're going to get the regional numbers here. So equals to my pivot table 2, which is east, north, south, and west. And I'm just going to get the numbers here. So equals to my pivot table 2, and this is my sales divided by 10 raised to the power 5. That's what I've been doing. And since this is like a template that I've pre-made, so the conditional formatting pre-applies. Just a quick revision, how do I do that? I pick up a data, I go to the home tab, conditional formatting, and the option that I'm choosing to make these little bars is data bars, and you can just do the data bars and you can just customize them as well. Alright, so this is my data bars. I get the total sales of the top customer. So pivot table 2, where is my top customer? It's right, where is it? It's right here. Okay, and then I'm going to divide that by 10 raised to the power 5, and I get the top customer. Now top customer's name, all I'm going to do is drag this down and just take this division sign off, right? And okay, now again, top sales guy, I'm just going to take go over to the pivot table 2, move over to down, and pick up the value from here, 10 raised to the power 5, raised to the power 5, and I'm just going to get the value right here. Then the next thing that I do is get the names of the top sales guy. I get it, and just like that my dashboard is ready. So now the only thing that I have to do is kind of fiddle around with the totals here. So let's just change this to 2007, and this is 2006 data. So this is the total, and this is the total for this, so equals to the sum. Drag it down, copy it to the right, and then you can copy this to here. This is the total sales that you're getting from the top 4 customers, right? and this is the total revenue that you're getting, or the sales that you're getting from top 4 salespeople in 4 quarters, right? And I am now going to do a total for the revenue as well, so equals to the sum of calculation, and this is my year 2 revenue, and that's about it, right? So I get that here as well. So let's just change the numbers and see if it's changing. Yes, it is changing, right? Let's just zoom out a bit and let's see. Yeah, it's working now. It's beautiful, it's neat and clean. And the other thing that I can do is I can if any more data is added to my dashboard, I can then refresh the pivot table. Since I've already used the table name here, or the table feature, it is going to accept additional data at the bottom or additional data at the right. So all I can do is I can make a macro and I can link it to the dashboard here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to developer tab, Visual Basic, and I'll start writing the macro here. So this is the part that I'm working. Insert a module here, so sub refresh all pivots, right? And in the active workbook dot refresh all. So in the active workbook, I'm just wanting to refresh all the pivot tables. That's my macro, it's done. And I'm just going to close this, and now I will just right click on this little button that I've made, and I'm just going to say assign macro, right? And I want to assign this macro refresh all pivots to this button. So when I click here, it refreshes all the pivot tables, and I'm going to say okay. Now when I click this, it really refreshes all the pivot tables. So that is pretty awesome. Alright, so here's my fully automated kind of a report that is functioning, and we finally come to the end of the 4-part series of becoming a pro at pivot tables. And I really hope that you've really enjoyed the session. We have not really limited the session to only pivot tables, but we've gone ahead and we learned a couple of other things as well. I'd make sure that I leave enough notes at the end of every part of the session so that you can follow up on the blog and you can follow it up in the videos as well. Please let me know your honest comments and put them down in the comment section below, and I really can't wait to read your comments. Now it's the time to party, and I have to go, and some friends are here, they're just waiting for me. Lots of love, have fun, bye bye, and take care.